Nations Championship next January. The impressions of Anthony Balfoy in this newscast. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 news.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
We begin our half-hour newscast with this presidential decree to declare a day of national mourning. The President of the Republic, mindful of the Constitution, hereby decrees as follows. Article 1. Saturday, 31st of October 2020 is declared a day of national mourning in memory of the attack on the 24th of October 2020 of the Mother Francisca International Bilingual Academy School Complex in Fiango Kumba, Kmer Division. Article 2. The national flag shall be flown at half-mast all day long throughout the national territory. Article 3. This decree shall be registered, published according to the procedure of urgency and inserted in the official gazettes in the English and French languages. Signed today, October 20th, 2020, Paul Biya, President of the Republic. The victims of the school massacre in Kmer continue to receive the assistance and support of the Interministerial Committee designated by the Head of State and led by Territorial Administration Minister Paul Atangandji. From messages of condolence to the bereaved to the promise to cater for the medical bills and education expenses of the injured, the members of government also examined the security situation in the Southwest region. Ebenezer Akanga is just back from special assignments in the Southwest region. Here's his report.
The interministerial mission led by Paul Atangandji was received on the esplanade of the Southwest Governor's Office by the governor of the region, Bernard Okala Bilai. After a short meeting behind closed doors in the governor's office, the members of the interministerial mission went to the regional hospital in Buea, where 2 children seriously injured in the Kumba school attack are under intensive treatment. Paul Atangandji handed instructions from the head of state that the children be treated free of charge. From Buea, the convoy drove to Kumba, where the members of the mission held a working session with administrative and traditional authorities as well as officials of defense and security forces.
This is the first time in 3 years where all the schools are operating normally. The enrollments have been very important. The attendance very impressive. And the terrorists and the secessionists who have failed woefully in their last attempt want to disrupt the school process, which has been very successful since the 5th of October.
After the working session, Paul Atangandji and the members of his mission met with active forces of Kumba. The visit of the interministerial mission has reduced the pain that is in Kumba following the gruesome killing of the 7 innocent school children.
The inhabitants of Kumba have been joined by traditional rulers and their elites to disapprove the hideous crime at the Mother Francisca International Bilingual Academy. The call for reinforced security in the town, the support of vigilante groups and the collaboration of the population to expose all acts of suspicion. Kange Williams Wasaloko put together their opinion in this report.
The horror of the deadly attack on school children Saturday in Kumba continues to haunt the denizens of the city. For the first time, both the natives and non-natives share common views that the killings must end.
What just happened in Kumba is unbelievable, it's outrageous, it's heinous and barbaric. And it has been condemned both at home and abroad. And we believe that Kumba, though being restive, hasn't had any such an attack. And being one of the first major attacks in Kumba, it has been a disaster to this town.
For the traditional custodian of the land, violence does not beget violence. The population needs to put these horrible incidents in the past and carve out a new way forward.
One thing I'm sure about is that we don't need more violence. We shouldn't become barbaric because other people are barbaric on our land. And in that sense, what we are saying is that the outrage of what has happened in Kumba, that we all saw, what we all saw is what the entire world has seen.
The voice of the people's representatives calls on the state to upgrade security dispositions in Kumba to avert further attack.
But if you look at what happened in Kumba on Saturday, it tells you that the government needs to step up security.
The large Nigerian community in Kumba could not remain indifferent to the attack, as some Nigerian kids are victims of the sad event. As the people of Kumba ponder on the bloody stain on the image of the one-time bustling K-Town, they are unanimous that something good can come out from Kumba.
Traditional rulers in the Centre region have also expressed resentment over the gruesome murder of school children in Kumba. They describe the act as barbaric, senseless and demonic, which not only disrespects the right to education, but also a disregard for human life and dignity. Details in this report.
The gruesome killings of school children in Kumba has left the custodians of tradition in the Centre region in shock and consternation.
It not only has a traditional ruler, I want to express myself as a citizen. It was very, very painful, very, very difficult to hear that some people have decided to go and kill young children who are going to school. How can they prevent children to go to school?
It's a wicked act. It's incredible. How can a normal human being pick a gun and go and kill innocent people? It's very barbaric.
Their wish is for the population to step up their level of vigilance.
And suggest to the population of Southwest and Northwest to continue, go ahead to help the government to catch those persons.
Others are of the opinion that perpetrators should be brought to book.
I strongly condemn the act, and I wish that and I hope that the authors will be punished.
My wish is that it must be forwarded to the court, to the appropriate court, to be severely punished.
All in all, the custodians of tradition say no matter the crisis plaguing the two English-speaking regions of the country, brutality and violence can never solve a problem. Dialogue, they say, is the best option.
The Holy Father, Pope Francis, has also condemned the murder of pupils in Kumba. This was in the course of today's general audience, where he reiterated that he joins in the grief of the families of the young students brutally killed in Kumba, Cameroon. He expressed his dismay for the senseless act and implored God to enlighten the hearts of Cameroonians, while reassuring that the families of the affected persons be comforted by God. Here's an excerpt of the Holy Pope.
I join in the grief of the families of the young students brutally killed last Saturday in Kumba, Cameroon. I feel great dismay at such a cruel and senseless act which tore life from the innocent little ones while they were taking lessons at school. May God enlighten the hearts so that similar actions are never repeated again, and so that the tormented northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon can finally find peace. I hope that weapons are silenced and that the safety of all and the right of each young person to education and to a future can be guaranteed. I express my affection to the families, to the city of Kumba and all of Cameroon, and invoke the comfort that only God can give.
In other news, a 3-day international conference on the theme Extremism, War, Peace and Development in Africa since independence is on the way in Yaoundé. Holding at the Protestant University of Central Africa, experts and historians are seeking solutions to develop the continent through a change of mentality. Here's an excerpt of Professor Daniel Aboa, who puts the conference into context.
The situation we are facing in Cameroon today, in the east part of Cameroon, northwest and southwest, those situations don't help Cameroon. Now, I think we should be a little bit patriotic and try to defend our country. Even if there are problems, there's no country in the world without problem. But the problems are solved. Who is gaining from that? They are killing people in Kumba. Why should these children be killed? That's the type of question that everyone should be obliged to answer.
In this developing story, Cameroon's contribution to the war effort of General de Gaulle and the creation of Free France has come under review today at the Brazzaville de Gaulle International Colloquium. Cameroonian-born expert in military history, Dr. Wanyaka, during a panel discussion demonstrated that Cameroon provided 10,000 troops in different parts of the world to defend the ideals of a Free France. Christian Cheatam reports from Congo-Brazzaville.
If it is clear that Brazzaville was the headquarters of General de Gaulle's operations in French Equatorial Africa, as demonstrated during Tuesday's opening ceremony of the colloquium, it is just as true that other countries contributed significantly to the success of his campaign and the liberation of France. This Wednesday's panel discussions highlighted the contributions of other countries. Cameroonian-born Dr. Wanyaka Bongwen Oyengmen, expert in military history, member of the first panel discussion of the day, said Cameroon contributed about 10,000 troops to support General de Gaulle's campaign. The historian said many of the volunteers took part in campaigns against German forces within the country, but also in other countries like Djibouti, Palestine, Libya and Tunisia. The lecturer at the Yaoundé War College told her peers and fellow participants that unlike other countries in French Equatorial Africa, Cameroon was not well rewarded by French colonial forces, as no Cameroonian attained the rank of officer. Another Cameroonian participant at the Brazzaville colloquium is Armand Claude Abanda, president of the Forum of Universities and Higher Training Schools of CEMAC. His contribution is in the domain of youth mobilization for a greater participation in development.
Youth must know the history of the African continent. Secondly, I think that youth have to learn ICT and technology in order to propose solutions for our development. Thirdly, I can say that Fcfa, as you know, is a very good solution for our African students to have training and good opportunities.
The Central African intelligentsia gathered in Brazzaville is unanimous that without the sub-region, the Charles de Gaulle myth would never have been born.
In economic news, the governor of the Bank of Central African States says the institution has injected billions to combat the economic fallout of the coronavirus pandemic. Abbas Mahamat Toli, in an exclusive interview with CRTV, also outlined the measures taken to ensure that coins will soon be back in quantity to his business. Charles Ebune tells us more.
This is the first exclusive television interview by the new Bank of Central African States governor with focus on the coronavirus impact.
La croissance qui était prévue à 3%.
Growth which was forecast at plus 3% was revised to minus 3%, about a 6% loss. This is huge, and job losses in many domains.
Enregistré des pertes d'emploi en plusieurs activités.
The bank has injected billions to save the economies, including a 90 billion CFA francs to the Development Bank of Central African States.
Je peux pas dire qu'on est déjà sorti de cette crise.
I cannot say we are out of crisis. Much must be done. The solution is to diversify the economies. The longer the production chain, the more value addition and jobs creation.
Et plus vous avez cette possibilité de créer d'emplois.
According to the governor of the Bank of Central African States, coins will be back in enough quantity for business purposes. A good command arrived at the start of the year. The other command had been delayed because of Corona. We are waiting an imminent command arrival. The governor outlines the best way to keep the economies of the economic and monetary community of Central African states on good footing is to diversify.
And the entirety of that interview will be broadcast at 8 p.m. tonight on CRTV News. Cameroon and Congo have agreed on the modalities for the construction of a joint hydroelectricity project at Cholet and associated electricity lines. The Minister of Water and Energy, Gaston Elonou-Esomba, and the Congolese Minister of Energy and Hydrology, Serge Blaise Zonaiba, presided over the video conference to that effect. Luma Slim Davies has the details.
The hydroelectricity project of Cholet has a provisional duration of 32 years. 2 years of studies, 5 years of construction, and 25 years of exploitation.
The project is to produce 600 megawatts of electricity distributed to Cameroonian side.
We're sorry for breaching that report. Because of its quality, we shall be broadcasting it subsequently. In one of our top stories, over 20% of road accidents in Cameroon's highway is blamed on the poor state of vehicles. To redress the situation and to ensure the safety of commuters, the Ministry of Transport has introduced a number of reforms. They include the digitalization of roadworthiness certificates and car registration documents, now difficult to falsify. Cynthia Saptala has the details.
The new format for obtaining a roadworthiness certificate makes it forgery-proof, according to officials. The reforms undertaken by the Ministry of Transport to modernize and secure transport documents absolutely require the physical presence of the vehicle in question at centers for technical control, which are now GPS coordinated.
We noticed that the technical control activity in Cameroon is subject to many malpractices. This is due to the absence of securing the technical control process.
The new certificate, which now contains a digital application, is only activated and given at these centers after a successful evaluation of the car brakes, visibility, proper inflation of tires, proper identification, just to name a few.
The digital solution put in place as part of this reform will eventually lead to the interconnection of databases with the aim of centralizing them. During the campaign Zero Accident Operation launch on October 5th, we organized a series of activities aimed at raising the awareness.
Vehicles complying with the new reforms still
In 48 hours, car owners can now be in possession of registration documents as a move intended to modernize the transport sector hitherto criticized for its archaic modalities. These innovations in the driving license and car registration certificate has been welcomed by many, as it has tremendously reduced the production of fake documents issued to unqualified persons. Iwane Pole tells us more.
It is within the framework of reforms undertaken with the view to securing and modernizing transport documents that a new format for issuance of driving license has been put into use by the Ministry of Transport.
Aspect of the reform is the fact that you can take your exams in the extreme north. When the results are published, you can get to print your license in Southwest or anywhere you deem convenient. The system communicates with the user that the license is ready. You can come and obtain a driver's license. And it has reduced considerably from 2 weeks to issue a driver's license to 48 hours.
There is also a digital car registration certificate reform put into use.
Every step linked to the production of this document has been computerized because the architecture that the Ministry of Transport have put in place is ready to interconnect with other administrations. By the time you import your vehicle and pay a document at the level of the ports. You indicate which region you want your vehicle certificate to be produced.
According to officials of the Ministry of Transport, car users who still hold valid certificates of the old format remain relevant until their expiring date.
And on to this editorial, Cameroon's leading cement production company, Cmencam, has donated anti-COVID-19 kits to the Ministry of Public Health. According to the board chair, Pierre Mokokombonjo, the package will contribute to the country's coronavirus response strategy. Lekiate Gertrude Asongazi has the details.
The gifts handed by the board chair of Cmencam in Yaoundé Tuesday to the Minister of Public Health comprised of surgical masks, reanimation beds and some test kits. Pierre Mokokombonjo is the board chair of Cmencam.
As you know, the head of state has called for a national effort in the fight against that deadly pandemic. It's a donation of about 100 million CFA francs, which is composed of face masks, different kits, extractors of oxygen, and reanimation bed.
Since April 2020, Cmencam has donated more than 20 million test kits to 6 council areas in the country where their factories and quarries are located.
We've started long ago bringing out concrete and active contribution to this fight against that cruel disease. Since the month of April, we've been acting, offering donations to hospitals in the northern part of the country, Figil, where we have a plant, in Mombo, in Mungo Division, in Fumbot, in Nun Division, in Yaoundé here, we have a new plant here in Bankomo subdivisions. So we've started since the month of April. Now it's, let's say, the most important package.
On behalf of the government, Minister Manauda Malashi thanked the officials of Cmencam for this kind gesture, which is going to help in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic in the country. The Cmencam company, which has been operating in the Central African sub-region for over 50 years, is bent on ensuring good health to the local population. The COVID-19 kits are expected to facilitate treatment.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Tonight we talk about COVID-19 and reproductive health. It is certain that pregnant women are amongst the vulnerable groups when it comes to contracting the coronavirus, reason why they're expected to respect scrupulously the COVID-19 preventive measures to stay safe for themselves and also for their babies. Reason why we shall be talking about COVID-19 and pregnancy with Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Philemon Semare, at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin. What are some of the precautionary measures that should be taken?
Good evening to you, Esther Kmer. Most pregnant women are anxious to know these days what are the latest concerning pregnancy and COVID-19. For example, as the number of pregnant women tested for COVID-19 reduced in the country, we get to know more with that as far as our guest is concerned, Dr. Philemon Semare. He is a gynecologist. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Sama.
Explain to us what are the latest trends as far as the coronavirus is concerned with pregnancy in Cameroon.
Now, generally, it has been observed that there's a decline in the number of new COVID-19 cases. The same holds for the number of new pregnant women that have been tested positive. There is a decline in their numbers, but we should be vigilant and remain vigilant indeed and respect the barrier methods put in place by the government to avoid the spread of this virus, despite the decline.
What about the transmission from those who are tested who are still who are still positive?
Now, even those who have been tested positive, there is a drastic reduction because the treatment that I've been receiving is efficient enough, the protocol is efficient, and most of the patients have been tested negative afterwards, and they are now gaining back their social activities as usual.
Thank you so much, Dr. Philemon Semawe, who is a gynecologist. The take-home message is, despite the fact that there has been this drop in the number of pregnant women tested positive for COVID-19, we should continue respecting these barrier measures in Cameroon. Back to you, Esther Kmer.
Thanks, Borin, for those updates. On today's obituary, the mortal remains of the Major General Simon Pierre Dagafonangsu have been coffined at the mortuary of the referral hospital in Yaoundé. The 86-year-old general of the 2nd section of the Cameroonian military was given military honors today, as Kilian Dandifon reports.
Major General Simon Pierre Dagafonangsu, whose remains begin the last journey to eternity, joined the Cameroonian army in 1961.
We're sorry for bridging that report. Definitely, we shall be coming back to it. But we have indications that we shall instead be talking about the mortal remains of one of the personnel of the CRTV, Mr. Ramsina, the head of the administration of personnel at the Cameroon Radio Television, as we should be seeing in the pictures. The elite from the Far North region, a native from Yagua in Mayodonai Division, was coffined today at the Yaoundé General Hospital mortuary. He was born on the 26th of October 1961 in Yagua. Ramsina was also an ex-student of Lycée Mazendo in Marwa. And it is worth noting that the casket of the 59-year-old Ramsina, who will be sorely missed by his professional family, was conveyed to his home at Oyumambang. And this evening, the corpse will be transported tomorrow to Yagua, where he will be laid to rest. It is worth noting that the general manager of CRTV, Mr. Charles Ndongo, was there to represent the entire corporation. He leaves behind a widow, several children, grandchildren, and the CRTV family to mourn him. And we take this other obituary. The Cameroon Radio Television, CRTV, continues to mourn one of its finest radio and television news anchors, Mireille Lambo. The 48-year-old senior journalist who died yesterday served the corporation for over 2 decades and left a legacy that will live on, as she is remembered for her professionalism, her assiduity, and her soft-spoken nature. Beatrice Ngum pays homage to Mireille Lambo tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on the 7:30 news from the CRTV. I'm Mireille Lambo. Good evening.
She addressed the world via the primetime news on TV.
Hello, Mireille. Hello, Crise. Thanks for joining us.
And she was the guest in our homes with the news bulletin.
Good afternoon. It's Monday, the 28th of September 2020.
Mireille Lambo Tiwa was recruited into the state broadcaster in 1999. She was a trained journalist of the 1998 batch of graduates of Division 3 from the Advanced School of Mass Communication. Recruited and sent to the radio news department, where she virtually served all of her career, the radio news presenter will be remembered for her humility.
She was an exemplary lady. Mireille is the type of lady that does not put her interests first before work. I knew she was ill. She was better. Only to hear of her death, I am shocked.
The senior journalist, presenter of CRTV News, focus on radio and newscaster on TV, including the primetime 7:30 news, is an acclaimed professional.
We collaborated as professional colleagues, and I know her for her humility. She never stopped asking questions about issues she didn't know. She will not go on the air without asking people to help her read her script before she goes out and makes an error. That's a girl that I've known for all of these years, so soft-spoken.
Born in 1972, Mireille Lambo Tiwa, a.k.a. Auntie Mimi, as she was fondly called, was the eldest of a family of 5. She will be survived by her son and mother.
May you rest in peace, Mireille. In sports, a delegation from the Confederation of African Football CAF is in Cameroon to inspect the country's readiness to host the 2021 African Nations Championship. The team, led by the Deputy Secretary General Anthony Bafoué, was accompanied to the main sports infrastructure in Yaoundé by Sports Minister Professor Narcisse Moelel Kombi. Baldwin Sama reports.
The delegation from the Confederation of African Football had their first stop at the Yaoundé Military Stadium that he thought to had to be used as training ground for the African Nations Championship, but unfortunately, after being used as a COVID-19 treatment center, this stadium won't be used any longer. Over at the Yaoundé Omnisport Stadium, the CAF delegation led by Anthony Bafoué was visibly impressed with the readiness of this stadium in all aspects. A beautifully renovated conference hall and dressing rooms impressed the delegation that visited other parts of the stadium that make it unique. After successfully hosting the 2016 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, the Yaoundé Omnisport Stadium, according to the delegation, is ready for January's appointments. The annex number 1 of the Omnisport Stadium was their next stop, which will be used as one of the training grounds. Their last stop took them to the training grounds of the Olimbe Stadium. Here, they look visibly ready and will be used during the African Nations Championship. Anthony Bafoué and his team were seduced by the beauty of the Olimbe Stadium programmed for the 2022 Africa Cup of Nations, confirming the country's readiness to successfully organize upcoming football competitions.
Saturday, October 31, is declared Day of National Mourning in memory of victims of the Kmer attack on October 24, 2020. President Paul Biya has decreed that the national flag shall be flown at half-mast throughout the national territory all day long. That will be all for this edition of the 7:30 News. Thanks for watching. We hope to have a better edition tomorrow with fewer technical hitches. Adan Bala will be yours at 8:30 p.m. Good night.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing